Hey Wargamers, Doug here from 2 Plus Tough, and today we are doing some hobby streaming. Now, I have been crazy busy with family stuff, and we're actually moving in July, closer to the center of Iowa, Des Moines area, so shout out if you're there, but that's what's kept me away from the channel for a little bit. And I am still running the Conquest paint-along thing, but by golly, I needed myself a little break. So I have this box of random minis, and I wanted to paint them up because they are for the game Yafsiga. If you have not seen this, let me pull it up here on my side. Here, I'll do a screen share and I'll get the link and I'll throw it in the chat if anybody wants to learn more. But it's a miniatures agnostic game. Think the movie Annihilation, but it is set in a fantasy kind of world. Yeah, there we go. And I met these folks from Blacksite Studios, who are the ones who publish it. I met them at Adepticon this last year, and I was absolutely a submittin'. And so, let me do this. Hey, Matt. Let me just do some settings things here. Weird that the settings aren't working. There we go, pin message. That's what I make it so that if anyone comes in the chat later, they're always asking, like, what are you working on? I could just kind of direct people a little easier. Kind of saves us all a little bit of time in the end. Okay, so now I'm back here. Okay. What's up, Jordan? So I'm going to walk through my models that I got. So my wife was really interested in this because if you have not seen it, they have the most beautiful rule book that's ever been published. It's gorgeous. The whole thing is art. So we went on to Etsy and we tried to come up like, what is the perfect warband for my wife Jess? Okay. And so I was asking her questions, showing her a bunch of different models. This is what we came up with. So her leader is going to be this lady. This is, sorry, my little screen's not working so well. It is a model of a witch that we got on Etsy, and then I went and got the, what is it, the Age of Sigmar Heroes stands thing. Put her on a stairway. She has a little book that's being held aloft by magic here. So that's Jess's leader, a little wizard lady. Her brute, like you can have all different kinds of units in Yafsiga, but she's going to have one large monster, which it doesn't show up well, but it's sort of, it's a giant cat, like a giant fluffy long-haired cat, like our cat Finn is, with wings. And so we're going to paint him up something rad. Again, hero base from AOS. And then I have 3, and these kind of look closer, almost like, if you will, to Pokemon, but they are these tiny little cat creatures. And then I had some terrain basing stuff. I don't know, just some fun things there. Now, she was supposed to have another unit that was going to be like cats about this big that have wings and are flying. The person couldn't fulfill the order, but then I found some models from Monster Apocalypse of giant, like, man-eating plants, and my wife has a beautiful, immaculate succulent garden, so I was like, that's perfect. Cats and plants, pretty much. Cats, plants, and books, which this she has. Pretty much my wife's interests all summed up. So those are in the mail. Those are coming from Noble Knight Games here in the Midwest. Now for my warband, I have a bunch of my favorite miniatures. These are the Pharaoh, the pig people that used to be usable in, what is it, Hordes? War Machine and Hordes from Privateer Press. So here we have a Master Pigman with his little flintlock pistols up on a hero base. We have a unit of 3 little tiny pigs to match her unit of 3 little ones. These are Pigman riflemen. They have like really, really crude rifles. They're going to act as a counterpoint to her plants. And then for my big bruiser, I have the big pig charging in. And so the pig stuff, I want to say a shout out, was all sent to me by Robin Mankiller, who's a user here on the channel, awesome supporter of mine and just an all-around cool person. All of these came from various stores on Etsy, along with hero bases and that kind of stuff. But yeah, so that's what I'm working on. I just wanted to get that out of the way, so as I'm grabbing random models, people are going to chime in and be like, what are you doing? I don't know. I'm going to start with I'm going to start with the piggies. Let's get used to these decrepit ancient metal models. Let's see. Cats, plants, and books sounds like heaven. Yes, she is a contemporary romance author. Her office room is like the entire wall is covered in these gorgeous plants, and then our 2 cats are always in there asleep next to her. Counterpoint to my room, where because of my recording needs, I have to block out all the sun, so it looks like I live in a tiny, dark, dank basement, which, fair enough. Let's see, so we're going to start with piggies. Let's get that one. We got a nice big fat brush for contrast painting. And we're not going to worry too much about the details, just kind of, oh, they have little metal plates on their faces. That's cute. That's my father. Man Killer is, hey, that's awesome. He talks about you at one point. I think he sent me an email when he was offering the piggies. Yeah, he sent me a whole box, and I plan to use them for all the miniature agnostic games that I do. So, you know, high five for having an awesome dad. I'm not laughing at you, but my natural, like, if you knew me in real life, my natural inclination is to follow that up with, wonder what that's like. But, you know, I don't want to be about a bummer. That's an inside joke for my friends there. Le Baron Payson, I just came to tell you that without your channel, I would be in the dark about how awesome AOS is. Oh, thank you so much. Yes. I actually, with the move here pretty soon, I am excited to be able to do more AOS just because of travel times with families and stuff like that. It's just a lot of things in flux that hopefully will be resolved when we move a little bit closer to everybody. Let's see, what do we got for topics? I was actually going to talk about some AOS stuff, but really they have just been blasting the horn with 40k, even though they haven't released anything yet. Like, I mean, they have the articles, but I mean, I don't know. If we had the indexes out or something like that, it'd be kind of nice, but so no AOS news really. But they did put out the new Warcry box. Are any of you guys going to get that? All right, isn't that up for oh, maybe it's up for pre-order tomorrow. Maybe I'm thinking of that. Or is anyone thinking about doing that one? I'm curious, because I want to like Warcry, but it can be a bit of a flash get sometimes. That's okay. No one's perfect. That's all right. I don't envy anyone. Next year should be 4th edition, I think. Hoping for a Shadow Elves faction. I agree. Everything that I have seen, because I have read the leaked stuff for 40k, I like the general direction they're going, and I hope that they reverse port a few things back into AOS, which, you know, I mean, it's how they've always done things, right? That's just how GW has done business as usual between whatever fantasy property they have and 40k. It always just seems to back, you know, they pass ideas around. It's cool. I don't mind it. But I'm just going to mix up where the paints are on some of these, so we'll give him the deep fur, this color. But I just like the flow of the game more. I don't like, I mean, I never liked strategies and tactics and all that stuff. I thought that was just too much bloat for very little payoff. But I understand that many people do like it. But seeing it not there in the 40k one, and I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. That maybe that stood out to me quite a bit. Good morning, Doug. Hope you're doing well. I am. Thank you so much. How are you doing, 2+? I am well. Warcry Underworld's warbands are great tasters for new factions. Those Eskrugan True Blades are gorgeous. They really are, yeah. What am I painting? These are the Tiny Pigs from Privateer Press's Hordes line, and I'm using them in a miniature agnostic game called Yafsiga by Blacksite Studios, and it is a diceless miniatures game where basically you use a deck of cards to determine your successes and failures, but also your activations, and that's kind of cool. It's very, very cool. If anyone's interested, I can talk more about it, but I tend to go on long rants about games, so I don't want to start that if people are like, eh. But I saw them at, well, I'd heard of the game before, and then I saw them at Adepticon this last year, and I just had a chance to do a quick demo. Ended up being with the guy who designed the game, which was like way cool. And he was just the nicest. He really was. I think this last guy, I'm gonna have him kind of be like the older, big, wise pig of the unit. Like if I ever need something with a leader. You don't need it for Yafsiga, but in any other game I might. So I'm thinking of having him be like gray-bodied and black-furred or something like that, or maybe black and white stripes to make him like Spike from Gremlins. That's my thought. I haven't gotten to him yet, so I'd love to hear counter thoughts if you think there's a cooler scheme or one that doesn't make him clash too much. But basically, I want these two to kind of be inverses of each other for simplicity, and then this one to have a little pop. You know, a little pop. Knights are Knight. Not much into Warcry. I'm a big fan of AOS and Warhammer. About to put foot into Mechanicum. Oh, put your foot into Mechanicum. Yeah, Undead Kings of War. Nice. I have not played any Kings of War outside of a demo I did at the same Adepticon where I got this game. And it was a great demo that everyone was so nice. I guess I just didn't... Nothing felt unique. Does that make sense? Like with Conquest, I'm die hard about the sculpts, for sure. I mean, their models are just terrific. The stuff they've been putting out lately. I'm all about Hobgoblin. I think that's like the best rank and flank game right now because it was the one I've been talking about here on the channel because it's so fast and you can play it at any scale pretty much. I'm actually working on getting a 10mm army for it. Like what I'm saying is there's just unique things that come to my mind, and in the demo specifically I didn't feel like any of those were pointed out to me about like why this game is unique amongst others, and maybe I was just missing it. I know it was really popular as a fantasy battle replacement, and so I'm not saying it's a bad game. I'm saying what makes it special was not conveyed to me. So if anyone out there can tell me, why do you enjoy Kings of War? I would genuinely love to hear it. I'm grabbing Nightmare Quest. Just had some games of Warcry with some buddies yesterday. A 3-player King of the Fight over the Fantasy Watchtower kit. It's a very fun game. That's awesome. One of my favorite games of anything that I've played, and it happened to be Warcry, was actually with, I don't know if you know who this guy is, Oscar Lars. He's an incredible painter. Just does all kinds of immaculate work. But I think it was the year that Warcry came out, me and him played a game at Nova. So it was 2019, had to have been. And that was the most fun in wargaming. It's close to the most fun I've ever had. Where, like, yeah, we would have a guy climb up a ladder. Can we do this? I don't know if we can. You want to roll a die to see if we can? Yes. Okay, roll the die. Die says we can. Okay, guy gets up there. Immediately gets harpooned by my, untamed beast or whatever, like the harpoon dude. Gets thrown off the side of it. Oh, it was so savage. And we were just laughing the entire time, high-fiving. Like a bunch of, 12-year-old kids having a great time. get home, I'm going to work on my Glaive Wraith Stalkers for Night Haunt. Sweet! How do you like the current Night Haunt book? I don't know how to pronounce that. The Crazy 40K, that's what I'm going to call you. Apologies. My computer is like 3 feet away from me at this point from my desk, so it's a little bit of a task to try and phonetically spell stuff out. So we're getting all these gums. I saw that there was a paint suggestion. Give me 1 second, I will go read that. What's okay, wait, what are the 2 villains from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Is that what I'm thinking of? Where wasn't one of them Rocksteady? Ah, dang it. Or the 2, like there was a pig guy and sort of a rhino looking thing. And I don't know if I'm thinking of the correct show at this point. I've started to doubt myself in every conceivable way since the time I opened my mouth. Let's see, we got Griff Charger Gray. I kind of like that one. It has sort of a... Actually, I don't want to do that. I just realized Griff Charger Gray has sort of a blue hue, and that'd be a cold color compared to like these guys. I want something with a tiny dash of warmth, which I know is not what I was describing earlier, but let's see. Rocksteady and Bebop! Yes, thank you. Yes, that is exactly who I was thinking of. That's what I'm going to name those guys. Okay, Basilicum Gray. And... let's see. Actually, I know what I'm going to do. I am going to, so I need 2 colors. I need Black Templar and I just had it. Here we go, Gorgunter Flesh. I know what I'm going to do. So I'm going to make his skin kind of white with the gray, and then I'm going to go over his thing with the same kind of brown that I like on these, the Gorgunter fur, and then I'm going to pick out black stripes just to make him kind of point out a little bit. But I wanted some color attachment to those guys. Why not do a gray undercoat and brown overcoat? Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I could try that. Let's see. Hey, really enjoy your content. Thank you so much, Jorek. I've been excited to get back into making it. But been doing a lot of taking care of me health-wise. Nothing crazy to report or anything like that. Not in any danger, just like probably have ADHD, that kind of stuff. You never get checked on. Just gotta check into it. Go to the brain doctor. How we doing? Ship's afloat? Okay, cool. That's why I love Warcry. It's quick and simple, but it's also thematic. I try to give my minis a splash of blood effect or battle damage after they pull off something very cool in game. Yeah, it is that way. I guess my local scene got kind of sour on Warcry when, because they didn't announce that they were going to do a second edition, a bunch of people bought a bunch of stuff and they were like, I didn't even get to play the stuff I bought before the edition changed. And so that kind of soured everyone a bit. But I like the game. I actually really like 2nd edition quite a bit. Because it added something meaningful, right? The reaction stuff. I feel like some of them are really, really interesting. Some are not. But the fact that some factions who, I don't know, didn't have like the strongest standing, like say Corvus Cabal were my boys, their reaction's pretty cool. It basically lets you like Assassin's Creed jump on someone as they walk below you. Just like bird person attack. Hi, Elbert. Let's see. Night, Night, have you seen any of the recent stuff my father has painted? No, I have not been online very much with all the travel and health stuff that I mentioned. What is he painting? Anything cool? I mean, I assume the answer is yes, otherwise we would be mentioning it. Nobody's like, have you seen my father's things? And it's like hot garbage. It looks like ass. Okay, so let's see. Now we need to get a skin tone because we're going to pick out the face bits. So I have here Dark Oath Flesh, which I have never used before, so we're going to see how this looks. And let's see, pop this bad boy off. I've also recently been painting in the background a whole bunch of Eldar for 40k. There was a local gentleman who was looking for some painted minis for D&D stuff, and I had a bunch just because I had a bunch of extra stuff. I just had so many models for so many projects I was just never going to get to. So I decided to clear them out. Was introduced to this very, very nice guy who had this immaculate Eldar army. When I say immaculate, it wasn't painted, because I like to paint, but it was primed. It wasn't just primed, but it was built like expertly. What I mean is like every single weapon is magnetized, but like with precision, and I don't know, it was just an immense amount of work. And he's just like, yeah, I did all this and then just sat and collected dust. You want it? And I was like, absolutely. So we did a little trade. And so now I have a full Eldar army and no idea if I like Eldar, but I did read their little faction preview thing, and they basically work like Tzeentch and AOS. So I'm like, well, that can't be too bad because everyone complains about Tzeentch whenever they get a book. But it might mean people complaining to me. That's a problem. The second game balance personally inconveniences me with having to argue with somebody or like feel defensive because of my army choice. I'm like, what are we doing here, guys? Okay, I need skeleton horde. Because I've been in that position before where people are like, oh, you're just a power gamer? And you're like, no, this is just what I own. Somebody said space elves and they sounded cool. In my personal case, that one was my Bone Splitters. Back in the day when AOS still had to have been first edition, but when the Cunninruck was a thing, and you used to be able to launch like 160 arrows at your opponent per turn, making yourself reroll hit rolls and wound rolls of 1 or something stupid like that, and then 6s would explode or something. It was just all... It was multi-stacking garbage upon garbage. Nobody liked it. I didn't play that. I just brought Bone Splitters, and people would be like, oh, I think your sound might be a little low. How's that? Test, test, test. Ooh, I wonder what this knob does. Does that turn things up? Interesting. Nope. It's definitely this knob. There we go. Test, test, test. 1, 2. Tell me how I sound. I don't want to keep fiddling with stuff and then you guys are on the other end going like, shut the fuck up. Make him stop. Let's go. Grab some dark silver. Cunning Ruck was so clunky to play, even if you didn't have fun. Even if you won, you didn't have fun. Exactly. That is exactly what it was. If you play that way, yeah. And then one time my good buddy Shu from Rerolling Ones, who you should all go subscribe to, so he was like, I want to play against it. So I put together like not the competitive Cunning Ruck list, but the best that I could do with the models that I owned. I was like, okay, let's just have it out, okay? And so I did it, and he just demolished me because back then it was the Wild West days, and he used to be able to go on the Balewind Vortex and nuke things from miles away, and because the Bone Splitters were just horde armies with terrible bravery. Bye. But I did end up selling that army because people wouldn't play. They'd be like, no, I'm not playing against that. Like, but I'm not bringing the thing. Nope. Okay. That's okay. I mean, I'm also just by nature somebody who flips armies, so I'm not going to say it's all their fault. Maybe it was just the excuse I needed for a new project. But yes, it was clunky to play because every single time you rolled dice, your opponent would, reasonably, want to know where you got all those rules because it was absurd. And you had to, like, describe the Rube Goldberg machine that made it all possible every freaking time you did something different. But I still appreciate the idea of it. Like, so if you don't know, the old Cunning Ruck was essentially, the Rucks were organizations or battalions, and like narrative organizations. So I loved the idea of like, oh man, these very narrative battalions. And what they would do was like, if your leader was near one of the units in the Cunning Ruck, depending on which ruck it was, you'd have access to different units. And a lot of times it would give them like a free action. And so that action was used to shoot in the hero phase, which is how you could get so many shots per turn. And while that definitely needed to go away because it's miserable. I mean, even if you're not trying to game it to the max, if you just have a minimum size squad, it still sucks to sit there for 20 minutes. So like, it needed to go. As a Bone Splitters player, I'm like, this has to change. This is literally not fun to play or play against. But, you know, their fix was a cut because now we don't even have real ruck rules. Or a lot of the narrative stuff for Bone Splitters got cut when they got molded into the or folded into, rather, into the War Clans, which I still think is a good choice. Still a bummer how much, I don't know, backstory and stuff gets cut. I'm still trying to find one of the old battle tomes for Bone Splitters. They're on eBay all the time. I'll grab one, but it wasn't OP, but it was horrible to roll. Well, see, but here's the thing. It was OP in events because you would clock your opponent out. You could, if you sat there and played as efficiently as possible with a TO standing next to you, breathing down your neck for time reasons, and the sheer volume of what you had to do and the amount of models that you played as the Kun and Ruck player would allow you to functionally smother the table, and then just all you have to do at that point is just take your shots. Take your shots. If you could take them as fast as you want, you'll never get done. And if you know that, you stall and you time out the other player. And the TO can stand right there and watch the whole thing because, again, no matter how swiftly you move, there's just so many attacks. That's where both the negative play experience and the OP part comes in. Is like, at that point, it's more effective against the tournament system than it actually is against any particular player, because you're right, it can be defeated. It just sucks. And there's nothing more meta than, like, in the truest sense of the term, than an army that beats the game format. Anyway, we could pass on. It was just a funny snapshot in history of, like, remember when that was a thing? That was fun. Wild West. Let's see. Now Euro boys are just not used. Agreed. They don't need more shots. I just think if they made them slightly better, I don't know. I don't know what it needs. Maybe I'll try to do a video where I rewrite them or something. Just got into AOS from Stefan. Thanks in your part to your lore videos. Oh, thank you so much for saying so. That's very kind of you. Okay, so we got 3 battle pigs that need to dry, and then we're going to put their little hoofs on them and decorate them. We're going to make the metal pop, so no worries there. Let's kick it off with Jess's leader character, our bewitching authority figure here of this set. Let's see. I think. So I know her dress is going to be purple, so we can definitely start to lay down some of that. Let's do that. Arrow boys have no synergies other than all-out attack +1 for Bonegrins. Exactly, yeah. Yep. Would you consider trying Warmaster Revolution? What is Warmaster Revolution? I have never heard of this thing. But if you are a longtime viewer of this channel, you'll know that's about all it takes to get me to try a new miniatures game that will derail my entire life for about 2 weeks. So, please, tell me more. Warmaster Revolution. So, Warmaster, isn't that the old GW game? That was, I came in after that. Unfortunately, didn't get a chance. Painting custodes. Nice, custodes are fun. Old school 10mm Warhammer continued by the community after GW dropped it. Oh, okay. I mean, would I ever get into it? Sure. Sure. I'm actually working on a 10mm army right now for the game Hobgoblin. By Mike Hutchinson, the same dude who did Gaslands. Highly recommend you check that out. Warmaster's Epic Scale. Speaking of Epic, I think that one's coming back soon, right? Didn't they kind of tease that a little bit in one of the previews? I am excited for the move because I think more people play Titanicus over in the Des Moines area. And that's a game that has just interested me for forever. I actually have a good friend up in Seattle who has a whole channel based around it, and I just watch it and I'm like, man, wish I could do that. It's like when I was back in high school and I really wanted to play Vampire the Masquerade, but I didn't know any cool kids enough to play Vampire the Masquerade with me. So I just read the books, you know, that's all. Yeah, Epic is coming back, but it looks like 30k Epic. Eye of Horus was in the trailer. Yeah, I'm down for that, honestly. I'm into it. I like the Horus Heresy. I know that there are grognards and neckbeards aplenty, but I am dedicated to showing people the good side of that game, or game community rather. It's not, if you ever meet any of them in real life, like if you went to the Horus Heresy section of the events, that like the big conventions, they are single-handedly some of the nicest human beings ever, because they deeply want people into their game. It's just the online culture is different. That's all I'm saying. I'm not trying to make a harsh dig at Horus Heresy folks, but it just feels like the conversation online always gets so mean about like, you can't do this. I can do whatever I want. I paid for it. You can't paint them this way? Huh, that's so weird. Must be a miracle, because I painted them that way. Look at that. I do think part of the game is historical accuracy, but I don't know. People get too in the weeds about it. Let's see. Hobgoblin looks like a blast. Oh yeah, dude. I played a game. I can't quite reach him, but I did do some conversion bases for my Age of Sigmar Bone Splitters. I did a video about it on my channel, so if you are interested, you can go find it. But yeah, dude, it looks freaking rad. And they, I think they wanted 12.5 grand to start production, just to like run like the initial print run or whatever. And they ended up with, I think, $72,000 because people were just like, this is freaking dope. The thing about Horus Heresy is that it's treated as a pseudo-historical title. I think GW mentions that in their financial reports. Yeah, I get it. It has nothing to do with how the game presents itself, and everything to do with a lack of interpersonal skills on the internet. They can sell it as whatever they want, but at the end of the day, Games Workshop just wants to make a few bucks, and that's totally fine. Their events may have requirements or whatever, but they are not the company that's going online and like actively being a dickhead to people. That's what I'm saying. That's the kind of thing that I was pointing out. Not so much GW's opinion of the game, or yeah. Let's do some. I think I'm gonna do like a gray stone for the stairs. Keep it kind of minimal. Maybe with gold etching on the sides or something. you tried the new Warhammer video games? The Metal Slug style one is very fun. What's the latest one? I recently downloaded Blood Bowl 3, though I haven't tried it yet. I am not gonna lie to you. I have fallen down a Zelda Tears of the Kingdom hole. It is a black hole, and that's all I want to do. And if you play that game, I think you understand. Hobgoblin gives me an excuse to get minis I never was. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's great for that. I love it for like getting me to try new things, but also just rewarding me for things that I've tried in the past, right? So miniatures that maybe don't have a game or the game system's at defunct or whatever. Now all of a sudden I have like a thing to do with them. Like, oh, cool. Doug, do you have any interest in the old world? I did have a passing interest when they first started talking about it. After this last reveal show, no. I mean, the models look cool. They showed off the Tomb King and the Bretonnian, which is rad. But I feel when they said that they're going to be bringing back plastic, resin, and metal models, I'm like, okay, so... No, they're not getting a launch box as well. That was all in that article or that speech or whatever. And so it feels to me like, oh, okay, you're trying to just throw out the minimum viable product to make sure that you don't give up or whatever power with this particular intellectual property and fully cede it to, you know, the Total War Warhammer players. It's fine. Like, I don't know. They said they're not going to have a launch box. It seems like they're just reusing old sculpts, and I don't have the nostalgia bug from Fantasy Battles, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, if you like it, please. It kind of just missed me. Like, I got into the game, got into GW stuff right when the old world was going away. So all I know is that people were really mad and really mean to each other for a period of time, and I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to talk about AOS. It can't be that bad. I'm sure they're going to fix it. Right, guys? Right? So, I mean, certainly nothing that they showed at the event has made me be like, ooh, maybe I would like the old world. But if they're just recycling stuff, it makes me feel like they're also not looking for new people. They're looking for nostalgia bait, which is fine. It's a business model. Anyway, those are Doug's 2 cents. Like I said, I tend to ramble when I get started. With success or failure, Old World provides cities of Sigmar with bits. Yeah, it's true. Underneath Warhammer World, their workshop is where they make minis. I strongly dislike scalpers. I don't see the connection between those two sentences. They make them in the basement. And then scalpers? I'm sorry. I missed the connection there. Unless you were responding to somebody else and I totally missed it. Luckily, having old models come back, finally get the chance to pick up some cool ones without having to pay out of pocket. Oh yeah, out of print prices, yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I hope it's everything everybody wants. That's, at the end of the day, I want people to be happy and excited. but from the, I mean, because for how long we've been seeing the logo for it with very little information, and then for the first bits of real information we have to be like, you know, we're not doing a bunch of the stuff we do for other products that we support. I was like, oh, okay, so you're just having fun. That's cool. That's cool. Having fun, making a rule set that's going to stay kind of etched in stone for a bit so you don't have to worry about it, but still kind of claim, you know, your handprint on this intellectual property. Right on. Hope everybody digs it. Missed a spot or two with the purple. There we go. She's got such little tiny details. The latest teaser are, here are your Tomb Kings and Bretonians, now stop asking about it. Exactly. Yeah. Shut up, nerds! Why are you always asking the same questions? Okay, here we go. I don't want to use that. I want to use a dark gray. What do we got? Let's do this. 3D printers can help modernize old world units without breaking the bank. I picked up some warp lock sales for cheap compared to GW was asking for. Okay, question. Can anyone... Okay, let me back up. I have a previous question before I get to the next one. Is there a plug and play 3D printer option? And if so, what is it? There we go. That's my two questions. Because my thing is, like, when it comes to, like, airbrushing, for me, airbrushing to me is an entire separate hobby, okay? Because it's none of the tools that I like to use for hand painting. I have to use a whole new thing. It gets hard to do live painting with it, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not the biggest fan. But the way that I've always thought about, like, 3D printing is it is its own hobby. And do I have time for a hobby? And the answer is always no. Like a new hobby, right? Because my secondary hobby is, I would say, YouTube. Or I guess video editing more than YouTube, because I do videos for this stuff, but... No, not yet in my opinion. But if you're into 3D printing, Warhammer Fantasies, I would highly recommend Highland Miniatures. Not sure if you were responding to me or the other comment, but yeah, it's a tough spot for 3D printers right now in terms of the detail that they can do, and reliably. That's the big thing. It's just reliably, and it has to be pretty low stress for people quite like me, who are like, I don't need another big thing. I don't need more junk to sit in the corner and look at me like, you spent so much money on me. How come you never use me, Doug? You're just like the Bowflex. I'm just kidding, I don't have Bowflex, but you know what I mean. I don't know, I'd love to see it. I just... 3D printing is super rad. I want it everywhere. It just seems like a big time investor, and also I know it from my buddy Jeremy has a 3D printer, and it does make an odor when you print with it, and we've always lived in little apartments rather than like I don't know. Houses with good ventilation. But let's see. So I'm thinking of doing, yeah, this gray stone on the stairs. And then going back over and hitting out the leaf parts, because there's like these little etchings kind of in the side of it, going over with, I think, gold, because I think, well, I was going to say silver, but I think silver, I kind of want her to be wearing some silver stuff. My wife likes silver. The Elgu Mars is pretty straightforward. Okay. Elgu. I want to cover more minis agnostic games on the channel. And so it might behoove me to look into some of those things. Yeah, no. Hi, Doug. Hope you're doing okay. Sending good vibes. Hey, Hans. How are you? Thank you so much, buddy. I am doing good today. Living, laughing, loving. Painting some battle pigs and some war witches. And if anyone's curious, you joined the chat a little later. I have the game that these are all for in a stapled link in the chat. Or pinned, not stapled. Oh my gosh. That sounded very boomery of me. We just picked up pre-supported files and then popped them in a drive and... Okay. Yeah, so that's... I have some... Just for like various things I've supported and Patreons I've pitched into, like people have given me files, and so I have them. Forgive me, I'm just looking around trying to get a sense of what parts are glaringly obviously need to be painted. That's really cool though, just picking up pre-supported files. Yeah, and then you can just print them. Mm-hmm. Do you do any kind of special ventilation for yours? Like, my friends just have a extra room that they just close the door and walk away. I'm like, oh man, I wish I had one of those. You know, for this stuff specifically. Kind of adding some straps to her. She has like a satchel, like a canteen satchel here. I kind of like that. What is everyone working on? And does anyone have a topic that they would like to chat about or question on me? Lay it on me. I am here for y'all. I just knew I was going to paint some really interesting looking models, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to share this. My wife has beautiful dark brown hair, so we will give the same to our intrepid witch here. Let's see. Okay, wait. I fell behind the questions. I'm so sorry, y'all. Asked at the same time when I was looking away at patent straps here. Shane, so how does Goblin provide you with the option to include heroes in your army, or is it just blocks of units? So essentially, you pick you choose one of your regiments to have your general in it. So you yourself can model the hero there, but rules-wise, it's just this guy has the leader boy with them. And I think that's just to discourage Hero Hammer. You can make solo heroes, though. You can make units that... You would essentially create a square-based solo character and then assign them the hero keyword, and then they could be their own units. If that makes sense. So you build the unit, and then before the game starts, you're like, this one's the general, which, of course, if you know, planned on him being the general, it's just something you would factor in. Let's see. So, Shane, hope that answers your question. Turvindar. The problem comes into play is that not all pre-supported files work well with all printers. That's a fair point. Rotoyo, assemble greenskins of any setting to kill time. Now doing Blood Bowl. Nice! What a fun activity. It's just got 10 minutes to kill. I'm gonna build me an orc. Well, you said greenskin, so it could be grots too. I wish the fumes weren't so toxic. Could keep mine in the garage venting out a window. Yeah. Night Sir Knight, how do you feel that Gloomspite gets painted with white skin? Oh, I think it could be really cool. If you do... What I think makes them look great is when you lean into what specifically creepy white skin would look like. So, using the tutorial for Idnith Deepkin, but maybe with, like... Plaguebearer flesh rather than the light blue that they use, so you give it this sick kind of nasty looking snotty color. Oh yeah, that could be great. But I mean, I'm fine with it. The whole point is that they're always like hiding in away from the sun. I think that could be really, really cool. Honestly, I kind of imagine that doesn't sound too terribly different from like if you looked at the... Someone can give me the full name. The Slittas from the Dominion set, the little micro gobos that came with the Cruel Boys. They have a whiter skin, I think, in terms of compared to, obviously compared to the green skin, but The Hobgrots, thank you. Our hobby group play space is out at one of the main guys' barns, so luckily we have a great spot for ventilation. Ah, I see. That kind of explains the username, Battle Barn. I like it. Some sick stilettos. I'm here to do magic and chew bubblegum. I'm all out of bubblegum. This last year I introduced my wife to They Live, and our marriage has never been stronger. See, I'm doing it already. Pretty much hit it on the head. Okay, sweet. Yeah, awesome. I hope you like it. It's a cool way to paint stuff, like the gross kind of palette stuff. When I did Nurgle, I like pale Nurgle things specifically. I don't care for like the green skin, like the green hue to the skin. A lot of times they make them almost blue, like they've been drowned or whatever. But they emphasize the blue tone rather than just the pale from the drownedness. And I was like, ah. So I'm with you. It's like someone spilled their wash on their models and they're like, he's drowned. Yeah, he's a drowned guy. Yeah. Last little bit of detail in there just could not seem to stick. There we go. We got it. Cool. She's coming along stunningly. Gonna do one more pass here on the base. Get that gray nice and strong. Hey, let me tell you this. Do you think that the new Auric Warclans Mega Boar, okay, that we had previewed, do you think that is going to effectively replace the Rogue Idol? Meaning, they talked about it having a few different like modes or whatever. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Did they say that there was going to be like a just beast mode, like just a big pig? For all of us who just like big pigs. Because unfortunately I was not there during the reveals to be able to listen in. But I'd love, I mean, I'm already looking at taking my bone splitters as a big wah from now on. Just because I want to love the bone splitter rules. They just don't have a lot of gas in the tank. And not that like I'm about power gaming, but it just feels really unhappy when you're like, I want to do stuff, and it just feels like your army doesn't do things. Anyone have an idea where my father put all the washes? Now she has like a lace type thing to her dress, and I'm thinking of making that. I don't know what I want to do with that, to be honest with you. That's a tough call. let's do... Um, 2+ stuff. Do you play Warhammer 3? Oh, like the Total War games? I do not. I have not played it. I didn't get it because I hardly played number 2. Total War games aren't my jam, really. I really like the battle aspects, and I know that people do like the PvP or whatever. I don't know. I'd much rather just stick to my old man versus computer. I still occasionally boot up the old Age of Empires, even though there's a new one out. Not that I think the old one's better. It's just like... Gonna turn the Cruel Boy Swamp Pig. Yeah, and that's the thing is I wasn't there, so I was hoping somebody could confirm if they knew, but it sounded like if it has a riderless option, I've already got my big stone pig, Pumbaa. There's like a lot. When you agree to paint a model for your significant other, and then you're like, frick. I didn't think she was gonna want 1,000 sons, Army. Rotoyo. Yeah, I've been looking at adding some Cruel Boy units again, with the idea of making my Bone Splitter's army into a big wall. I don't own any Cruel Boys, so like my friend Rob has talked about having some that I might snag off of him just for conversion purposes and stuff. But yeah, I want to have everything be certainly Cruel Boys themed. Not Cruel Boys. Bone Split is themed. So I want to make them all look kind of like feral and beat up and stuff like that. I think that'd be fun. Okay, most of her dress done. Just gonna go back into the purple. We're gonna grab some dark purple just to kind of cover up our errors. And I'm going to go over with a light wash. I just wanted to try and get some of it. Leveloy for Cruel Boys you can still find for Dominion. Yeah, exactly. Everyone's still trying to ditch their Dominion set, so still a good time to be a Cruel Boy. Okay, next I have my Cherokee Violet wash, the old kind. Luckily, there's a Cruel Boys renowned warband that you can add while still keeping your warband bone splitter. Oh, nice. When were those added? When were the ally things added? Like I said, I really have been out of the loop for AOS news for a while. I apologize. What am I painting today, Doug? This is a miniature with no real name that I got off of Etsy. Because my wife and I are going to be playing Yefsiga by Blacksite Studios. I went ahead and pinned a link to their store in the chat section if you want to check it out. I highly recommend checking it out. They got a great team over there, and it is a fun diceless miniatures game. You use a deck of cards, which is an idea that I had for a game myself, but they beat me to it and they did it better, so hurrahs all around. But yes, she's essentially a little witch character that we got off Etsy, and then to the top right over here I have a bunch of pigs from the Pharaoh line from Privateer Press from War Machine and Hordes days. Six crossbow plus one crossbow. Oh, I see. The unit you're describing. Okay, right on. It took me a second. I was like, what the hell am I looking at? A bunch of crossbows? Crossbows? Where? Okay. Now when this is done drying, I'm going to lighten it up a little bit with a dry brush of a lighter color, but then I'm going to add some Turbo Dork color shifting paints. I think that will look pretty dang cool. Right now she needs to dry a lot. Well, except for her skin. We can tackle the skin. Let's do that. It's not skin color. Neither is that. So at this point, yeah, we have, for the Afsiga, you need to have 4 units, and you can pretty much design your own, so long as one of them is a leader of your warband, or it has to be a singular person for that. But then the rest of it, it's brutal. It's only 3 rounds. The rounds are longer than other miniature games, so it's not like you only get to use your guys 3 times. You actually get to use them quite a bit. But it keeps the game exceptionally tight for objectives. While also being a good enough excuse to buy a bunch of minis. What does anybody here have a next army project on their minds? I will give you a spoiler alert. On my next project, if you're curious, but essentially plan to paint up a Mortals Hedonites of Slaanesh army. That's my goal. Pretty well. I think at this point we can start hitting that silver. Okay. What are we at? Hour 18. I'll throw this silver down and then I will call it a show, I think. Everything here. Have any of you tried Army Painter Quick Paints since they redid their formula? Because lately, my recipe to success has been contrast paint plus a layer paint from Monument Hobbies, the Pro Acrylic line. Ooh. I've been on a Warcry Warband kick. So many cool ones this season too. Oh yeah. My favorite of season 2, I mean, it has to be like the jade looking warrior guys. Those are pretty rad. They just had such great, like, just powerful poses. Gonna focus on my pile of shame first, but did order a Stompa 2. Nice! For the Stompa, that's the big orc mech, right, from 40k? I remember I had orcs for a short period of time, and I just loved that model, but I just could not find a way to make him work. Hopefully this edition is kind to him. Okay, and then she's got some... Got some bells and whistles. We'll throw some paint on here. Looks like I just got my first game in with the Jade guys yesterday. Super fun to play. How do they play? Are they melee champions? Are they sneaky? Perfect. Got the glasses looking real good. Kind of hard to show up on this particular camera, but I am liking her. Wait for stuff to dry. We'll do some more washes, and then I'll start building the highlights up on the pinks and the purples. But overall, I am really enjoying this character. Let me know your thoughts down below. I'd love to know what you're playing for Siga. Go ahead and check it out. I highly recommend it. So for AOS, I've been making Corn Dog Army with the 40k Combat Patrol, boarding patrol boxes, and picked up Cilia and Fingrim. Nice. That's a fun way to build an army for sure. Any of those armies that can cross-go between games, you're like, oh yeah, this is a bargain. This is a bargain any price. Anyway, friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you very soon. Happy Wargaming!